blessed face, all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth, that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, as I know from your word. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I thank you, Yah, for your precious name. And it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. In your boundless word, no one could express how much you deserve. Long weak and poor, all I have is yours, every single breath. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, though I know from your word you're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I thank you, Yah, for your precious name, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I thank you, Yah, for your precious name, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. It's all about you. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I thank you, Yah, for your precious name, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. I thank you, Yah, for your precious name, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha. It's all about you. It's all about you, Yahusha.
Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. Hallelujah. 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 Welcome, everybody, to Shabbat Talk, this week's Torah portion. I hope everybody's had a nice week. And speaking for myself, I'm really glad to see Shabbat coming around. Always am glad to be in Yahuwah's peace and his joy and rest on his blessed day, Yom Shabbat. I have a real interesting topic this week. Natsarim, glad you're here. Bruce, glad you're here. Peggy Russell, glad you're here. Phyllis and Lou, glad you're all here. That being the anti-mashiak. Who is he? Where will he come from? When will he come? And what will happen at his coming? And a few other things like the Abomination of Desolation. Ron the Natsarim, glad to meet you. Glad you're here, brother. Glad to be meeting you today here on Yom Shabbat. And Desolation, Abomination of Desolation. Confirmation of the covenant, perhaps. Babel. Mystery or secret Babel or mystery Babylon. The whore that sits on many waters, and her daughters, the mother of harlots. And a little bit about prophecy and what certain things signify, what they really are in prophecy. In scriptural prophecy, things are not always what they are literally inclining. They are something totally different than what you may think. And so it's kind of a long study, but we'll get there. Now, next week, we're going to continue on with this study, but we're going to get into a little bit deeper context and about the anti-mashiak and who he is or who he may really be. So one thing I like to start off with here before we begin our Torah portion is that in my studies this week, I had realized or come across that we are all, and most of the Natsarim know, that we are shares in inheritance with Yahusha. And we're adopted sons and daughters. If we are the lost tribe, members of the lost sheep, then we are generally probably from the northern tribes that were scattered abroad throughout the entire Eretz. And we have been found and awoken by Yahuwah from where we are on the planet. And we begin to call upon his name and obey his Torah. But did you know that we are kings and priests with Yahusha? We share an inheritance. Did you know that? And so since we are kings and priests, then it's only reasonable to consider that Yahusha, who is the King of Kings, is our king. We're the kings that he's the king of. So he's the King of Kings of us, of his people, where he's chosen kings and priests to share with him and the inheritance with him from the Father. So he's the King of Kings. He's our king. We're all kings with him. But he's our king, King Kings. That's who. He's not the king of the kings in ancient times. He's the king of the kings in his kingdom, in his reign, are ruling with him We rule with him. Isaiah Diaz, glad you're here. And we are also priests unto Yahuwah. And he is our high priest. So he's the high priest. He's the king of kings, our king. He's our high priest, and we're priests. He's the high priest over us. We're priests, and he's our high priest. So that kind of sheds a light on a little bit of an angle when you really consider that it brings up a question in my mind. What are you doing in your reign to rule in your territory that you've been given by Yahuwah? You're a king and you're a priest. You only answer to the King of Kings and the high priest, Yahusha. So what are you doing in your territory to promote the kingdom, the word, the truth? What are you doing over there? How are you reigning your territory? Have you ever considered that we're scattered abroad, not only abroad around the planet, but there's space between us, pretty great distance? There's some people maybe in our state. If you're in Texas like I am, they may just say there's 10 people here. We may be couple hundred miles apart. It's a big state. We're not on top of each other. We're not in the same city. There is one person here that I did meet that was a Natsarim, or at least sort of like one. But we're all given these territories with great distance between us because we rule our own territory. We are a king and a priest in our territory, and we're to rule it. And our enemy that we war against is the principalities of darkness, not the flesh, not the people in our area. Those are the ones we try to convert over into our army. So I ask again, what are you doing in your reign, in your territory, to increase the power and the reign of Yahuwah? You ever consider that? Okay, so what about this person called or known as the Anti-Machiac? Who is he? Where will he come from? When will he come? And what will happen when he gets here? Not that we should concern ourselves about what he's doing, his activities, his agenda, although we are engulfed, saturated in it, encompassed in it, because we're here on this planet that he will soon rule. And so the stage is being set for him to come on the scene and take over and rule. To what level is yet to be seen. Scripture does give us a lot of hints on what he will be doing, and none of them are good. He's going to convince many people by flatteries. He's going to have a silver tongue, and people are just going to flock to him like ducks to water, man. And so we know that much about him. But where's he going to come from? Will he be a Muslim? Is he going to come from the Middle East? A lot of people think so. Some say he's going to be a Yehuda. He's going to come from Israel. He's going to be a Jew, they say. Some say he's going to be the son of Hashatan, born of a jackal. He's just going to come out of the womb of a jackal and come up, be raised by jackals, I guess, and come on the scene, and be the Hashatan in the flesh, like Yahusha was Yahuwah in the flesh, incarnated, and he's going to copycat him and come in the flesh, Satan himself. So there's a lot of rumors out there and a lot of different opinions. But Scripture kind of tells us in certain ways, Yahushua is my Messiah, glad you're here, that he will be a Gentile. And the anti-mashiak Messiah will be from the nations. He'll be a Gentile, and probably most of our hints from Scripture points at him being a Roman citizen, at least a citizen of a one world government that's ruled by the reborn Holy Roman Empire. So he may be a citizen of that sovereignty and a king. He will come on the scene as a king. So anyway, since Revelations and Daniel are our two main prophecies about the anti-Machiac, but there are some hints in 2 Thessalonians and Matthew. A little bit, Yahushua speaks of the abomination of desolation, the man that calls us wasted. Daniel spoke about standing in the set apart place. So he must be a real person if the Messiah said he'd be standing in the set apart place, what Daniel spoke about, which was Jerusalem, is what Daniel was speaking of in his prophecies. Daniel mentions the abomination of desolation 3 times, once it's mentioned once in Matthew and once in 2 Thessalonians and 3 times in Daniel, as far as the abomination of desolation. Now, abomination's mentioned a lot of times, and that's not what we're talking about here. I mean, you might find the word abomination in Scripture 100 times. I'm not sure. It's in there quite a bit. But we're specifically speaking of the abomination of desolation here, referring to the anti-mashiak. So let's get started on it. And I'm going to stop at certain points. And I'm going to show some pictures of things. And I found a really short video about Babel, where some of you may have seen it yourselves, but this is about evidence that they dug up, artifact that they found that proves that there was a real Tower of Babel, and it's even got its inscription on it that speaks of it and the king at the time, the ruler at that time. The artifact was chiseled out in stone. So I'm going to show you that. It's got some, obviously it's going to have verbiage that we don't care for, but we're just going to have to just kind of get through that. Unfortunately, we can't get on there and find stuff like this, and it speaks the pure lip or words that are good to our ears. So we got to suffer through it. But the reason I want to show it is because it's astonishing, really. And it proves that there really was a Tower of Babel, which I believe is an extremely important bit of evidence for us as Natsarim. RT, I'm glad you're here, brother. Don't miss next week, RT. You're going to be a star. People going to be asking for your autograph after next week. So make sure you're here. Okay, man, let's get into it, and I'll try to show pictures and elaborate as much as I can here, and hopefully all this will start making quite a bit of sense to us, and we're going to learn a whole lot about this. And like I said, we're not trying to, understand him or study him or get to know him or anything like that, but what we're doing is we're getting to know our enemy better than a brother. And what I mean by that, there was a real famous general, matter of fact, several of them, have got some really outstanding quotes about the enemies, their enemies. But one of them is that he said, let's go to our enemy, into their cities, into their streets, and learn about them, mingle with them, get to know them, to even closer than a brother, so that we can overtake them, overcome them, and destroy them. And we learn all their strengths and their weaknesses. So to understand your enemy is not collaborating with the enemy. It's understanding his strength, his weaknesses, what he's doing, his plan, his battle plan, so that we might overcome him and be victorious, which we already know we're going to be, because we overcome him by the word, our testimony, and the blood of the Lamb. Okay. Hadassah, glad you're here. Okay, so let's get started. Revelation 17 and 18. Revelation 17 and 18, extremely important in this study here. It really, these chapters are devoted mainly to the judgment of the false political and religious systems of the end time. And so the judgment of them in their fall or whatever. And so let's read that, and then we'll continue on with the lesson. I think we'll probably have time at the end to open up and invite other Natsarim on, and so we can have some, some conversation, and see if anybody else has anything to add to this evening's Torah portion. Okay, so here we go. If you have your BYNV handy, go ahead and open it up to Revelation 17. Read along. You get more out of it if you read along. And one of the seven messengers who had the seven bowls came and spoke with me, saying to me, "Come, I shall show you the judgment of the great whore sitting on many waters." Okay, so a whore here is an adulteress, somebody who is doing adulterous acts of idolatry against Yahuwah. And the many waters is nations. So in scriptural prophecy, water, mayam, yamam, seas, water, oceans, is referring to nations or the Gentiles. The whole world is the Gentiles or the nations other than Yisrael. That's the only set apart people to Yahusha. Everything else, Gentile, nations, waters, mayam, whatever. Scripture, when you read that, it's not. It says, "Come out of the sea." A behemoth come out of the sea. It says, came out of the nations, not out of Yisrael, but the nations, not out of the literal Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's not what it's talking about. Just pray that Yahusha opens up her mind to understand the scriptures. Kobe, glad you're here, brother. So, great whore, a great adulteress, committing idolatry on Yahuwah, idolatry acts, violating the Ten Commandments or the covenant, and sitting on many nations, Gentiles, nations, same thing. Everything except for Israel, the set apart people, okay? With whom the sovereigns of the Eretz committed whoring. So they all committed whoring with this whore. They all took a turn. And the inhabitants of the Eretz were made drunk with the wine of her whoring. They were drunk with the wine of her whoring. All right. So we know here now We're talking about the nations, the entire world except for Israel. It's not referring to Israel, her, at this particular moment. And he carried me away in the Ruach into the wilderness, and I saw an Asha sitting on a scarlet behemoth, covered with names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, so here we go with more prophetic languages, words. Okay, this is not, nothing here is literal. Okay, so you saw an Asha. This is the whore, basically. Okay, this is representing a religious system. Okay, sitting on a scarlet. Scarlet is like red. Behemoth, or a beast, covered with names of blasphemy, which is probably the name of the religions, is what I think that is. Now look, I'll tell you something right now. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I'm just saying how I'm explaining how I am interpreting this in my mind through Yahusha at this particular time in my life, in my walk with Yahusha. Okay, so I'm going to err. You know, I'll admit it right now. A lot of the stuff I say probably is in an error. All right, most of it will probably be true. All right, I'm not perfect. I'm just flesh and blood, just like you, and that brings up a point. When I told you in the beginning here that we're all kings and priests in the sharing with Yahushua, we're going to rule in the middle. Those who are in the first resurrection that has the dwelling spirit of Yahushua in them, are alive at his second coming and transformed immediately in the wink of an eye, are going to get immortality with the first resurrection. Those are men alive, caught up with him as he descends upon the Mount of Olives and starts his reign, which will never end. It's everlasting. We will be given immortality at that point, and we are going to be kings and priests with him and rule through the millennium reign with him, and we will be judging and ruling over Gentiles. Okay, he's our king. We're the kings of our realm that he gives us. And he's our high priest, and we're the priests. We're below him. He's above us. He's the king of kings. We're all kings. He's our king. So he's the king of the kings, not the kings of Babel or the king of China or something. Okay, no, he's us. We're the kings that he's king over. That's why he's the king of the kings. And we're going to be the ones ruling with him in the millennium reign. All right. But word has reached my royal ear that there's some disputing among the brothers and sisters of the Natsarim on who is the greatest Natsarim or the greatest teacher on YouTube. And I don't know if it's true or not, but this is the rumor that's reached me. I don't know if any of you have heard that or participated in that type of a conversation. But if so, I just want to clear the board right now and say that I'm the lowest of them all. So you don't even have to dispute about me. I'm the least of all. They're all better teachers and more knowledgeable than I am. Okay? I'm just a tool in the hand of Yahusha, a humble servant of righteousness that is offering everyone to come and congregate on Yom Shabbat and listen to the word of truth being read. That's all I'm doing. I ain't a teacher. I ain't your boss. I ain't nothing. But I am a king and a priest over my territory that Yahusha has planted me in, and I will rule my kingdom according to his word. And you should be doing the same thing in your kingdom where he planted you. Not sitting there gossiping about your brothers and sisters. Anyway, I hope it's not true. I'm just saying. That's what I heard. Let's get back to our Torah portion. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Okay, so she was covered with names of blasphemy, which I think is denominations, Baptists, Pentecostals, Catholics, whatever they are, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, the 7 heads and the 10 horns, are going to be kingdoms and rulers, or kings, sovereigns. As we read through this, it's going to tell us what all this is. It explains it to us. This ain't a big secret here. It tells us what they are. Okay? So let's go. And the Asha was dressed in purple and scarlet. Purple and scarlet, the Asha, which is a religious system, a whore that's doing their own thing, seeking their own esteem and worship other than giving it to Yahusha, seeking it for their self-esteeming. And adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, holding in her hand a cup filled with abominations and the filthiness of her whoring. That's what's in the golden cup. And upon her forehead a name written, a secret on the forehead. This is the name of the Asha, the whore. It's written on her forehead. This is where they get Mystery Babylon from. It's a secret. Ooh, Mystery Babylon. Her name's Babylon. It's a mystery, right? Well, it's not that big of a mystery, as we will find out. But Babel the Great, the mother of the whores and of the abominations of the rats. Okay, so the mother of the whores is the Asha, riding the beast, dressed in purple and scarlet, holding the golden cup with stones and pearls and all that. And that's the mother, the whore of the whores and of the abominations of the rats. So the daughters, if you will, the mother is Catholicism. It's the Roman Catholic Church. It's in the Vatican. Okay, the whores are Protestant churches. The runaway daughters, the ones that broke away from the mother church and started their own denomination, but they act very much like the mother church. They only left a few things behind. James, glad you're here. Okay, and the abominations of the rats, well, the sins, abominations can be a list of things. Okay, so here we go. The mother is the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church. The whores, or the daughters, the runaway daughters, are the Protestant churches coming out of the Reformation. Okay. And I saw the Asha drunk with the blood of the Kadeshim and with the blood of the witness of Yahuwah. And having been seen her, I marveled, greatly marveled. And the messenger said to me, why did you marvel? Let me explain to you the secret of the Asha and of the behemoth she rides, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The behemoth that you saw was and is not and is about to come up out of the pit of the deep and goes to destruction. And those dwelling on the Arets, whose names are not written in the scroll of life from the foundation of the world, shall marvel when they see the behemoth that was and is not and yet is. Here is the mind having wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the Asha sits. Okay, so we know that Rome sits on 7 hills, right? Everybody should probably knows. I'm sure on Natsarim do. So the 7 heads that the Asha sits on is 7 mountains. Scripture just told us that. Okay, so what sits on 7 mountains? Rome. Yeah, the Vatican is on one of the hills that used to be the graveyard of Rome, the trash dump and graveyard. It was a nasty place. It was a swamp. Nobody dwelt there. They just dumped all their garbage there. They buried their dead in shallow graves there. The dead unknown people, probably, vagabonds and stuff. Poor people. So anyway, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. Okay. Where the Asha sits. And there are 7 sovereigns, 5 fallen, and 1 is. So 5 have fallen and 1 is, and the other has not yet come. So that would be the 8th, right? And when he comes, he has to remain a little while. And the behemoth, or the beast, that was and is not, is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and goes to destruction. All right. So this is kind of telling us that the beast, or the anti-mashiak, who Yahuchanan here, or Elazar, likes to call the beast, is the anti-mashiak. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Now we know that the beast is also the system of control orchestrated and authored by Ha-Shatan himself, right? The 3-4 tier system of control. Okay. And the 10 horns which you saw are 10 sovereigns, so 10 rulers, who have not yet received a reign, but receive authority as sovereigns with the behemoth, the beast, for 1 hour. For 1 hour. Okay? They have, and that's not a literal hour. Okay? They have 1 mind, and they shall give their power and authority to the beast. So this means they're a coalition. They're an alliance. They're a united kingdoms together with 1 mind. They have the same goal in mind. They're trying to achieve the same goal, go to the same place. That's what that means. They have 1 mind. They shall fight with the Lamb, which is Yahusha, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is master of masters and sovereign of sovereigns. He's our king. He's the king of the kings of his reign, of his kingdom. We're kings in his kingdom. We rule with him in the millennium reign. He's the king of the kings. And those with him are called and chosen and trustworthy. See that? We're the kings, man. We're called. We're chosen. We're trustworthy to reign with him, to rule with him in his kingdom. He's our king, the king of the kings. Who are we going to reign over? The Gentiles in the millennium reign. That's who we're going to be reigning over. We're all going to have our own territory. And he said to me, the Mayim, now here we go, the Mayim, the waters, which you saw where the horse sits, are people. See, it's not the ocean. He said, oh, it's the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor. We're all going to die. No, it is not. It just said that the Mayim is not a literal ocean or sea. It is people. It's the nations. It's the Gentiles. It's the entire world minus Yisrael. That's the Mayim. Seas and waters always refers to the Gentiles, to the nations. And throngs, that's masses of people jammed in like a sardine. And nations, all the Gentiles. And tongues, all the different languages that were created at Babel, right? And the 10 horns which you saw on the behemoth, these shall hate the whore. Now listen to this. She riding this whore up to this, the whore's riding the beast up to this point, and they're a coalition, right? And then all of a sudden, watch this. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these shall hate the whore, which is what? A religious system wearing scarlet and purple, adorned with gold and pearls, and lay her waste and naked, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. What do you think that means? They're going to nuke her. Rome is getting nuked by these 10 horns. They're going to drop a nuke on Rome. That's what this is telling us. Rome's going to get fried with a nuke, folks. And we'll see that even more as we keep going. For Yahuwah did give it into their hearts to do his mind, to be of one mind, and to give their reign to the behemoth, until the words of Yahuwah shall be accomplished. And the Asha, whom you saw, is that great city. Now listen to this. The Asha, the whore, whom you saw, is that great city, having sovereign over the sovereigns of the Eretz. What this is here, folks, is the rebirth, the reborn, Holy Roman Empire is what that is. 1993, I believe. It kind of snuck by everybody, kind of went under the carpet, over the clouds. Nobody really realized what happened in 1993. We witnessed the rebirth of the Roman Holy Empire, folks, and it's growing and it's beginning to get teeth of iron. It's getting claws and teeth of iron. It's getting power and muscle and might. It's building up its strength in order to dominate, turn everything over to the anti-mashiak is what they're going to do. They're setting the stage for him. All right. So that brings us into this really quick. I'm going to just pause right there and show you some things here real quick, and we'll get back into this. Let's see now. Let's look at Genesis. Let me see. Yeah, Genesis 11. Way back to Genesis 11. I'm in BYNV. We learn about Babel. So real quick. And all the Eretz had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they set out from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the Shemayim, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the face of the Eretz." Then Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahushua said, "Look, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, I will examine and make foolish the recognition of their language, so that they do not understand one another's speech." And Yahushua scattered them from there over the face of all the Eretz, and they left off building the city. So the city was never completely built, folks. This, the Babel. This is why it's the building, not the city, the building. This is why its name was called Babel, because there Yahuwah confused the language of all the Eretz, and from there Yahuwah scattered them over the face of the earth. So that's the story of Babel, and they try to say that that's not real and blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. So I found this little video that kind of, the Smithsonian architects dug this up and found this piece of ancient history that proves that there was a Tower of Babel. Okay, so I'm going to try to share this. It's real short. Like I said, just excuse the language. You know what that's going to be like, so we'll get through it. But I just want you to see the evidence here. It's very interesting. The evidence is very, very interesting. Here it is. All righty then. Let's go with it. It's only 3 minutes long.
The Tower of Babel, the subject of one of the strangest stories in the Bible. But could it be based on truth?
I thought as a kid this was folklore or legend. And then a lot of people still think of it in biblical terms as some kind of legend, but they don't really know that it actually existed.
I am a primary care physician, and
I'm really at the place where the tower stood.
The fragile remains of the legendary city of Babylon in modern-day Iraq have revealed many secrets. The greatest of all was the discovery of a vast structure that ancient records suggest was the Tower of Babel. Ancient texts have allowed experts to imagine what the building might have looked like. But now, astounding new evidence has emerged. Inscribed on the surface of a privately owned tablet is an image that sensationally reveals exactly what the Tower of Babel looked like.
This is a very strong piece of evidence that the Tower of Babel story in the Bible was inspired by this real building.
This remarkable tablet, which has never been filmed before, dates to the 6th century BC. It was discovered in Babylon over a century ago. Unbelievably, no one realized how important it was until Professor Andrew George, an expert in ancient texts, brought its fake carvings back to life.
At the top here, this part, there is a relief depicting a stepped tower, and here a figure of a human being carrying a staff with a conical hat on. Below that relief is text which has been chiseled into the monument, and the label is easily read. It reads Etem Enki Zikurat Babel, and that means the Zikurat or temple tower of the city of Babylon.
This tablet provides the first ever image of the real Tower of Babel. It confirms the building was a Mesopotamian stepped tower and illustrates the 7 tiers of the ancient megastructure. Significantly, it also clearly identifies the man behind it, Mesopotamia's most famous ruler, King Nebuchadnezzar II.
And its builder on the same relief.
But while the images are extraordinary, the tablet ancient text tell account of the tower's construction. And importantly, how Nebuchadnezzar went about building it.
It reads from the upper sea, which is the Mediterranean, to the lower sea, and that's the Persian Gulf. The far-flung lands and teeming people of the habitations are mobilized in order to construct this building of the Ziggurat of Babylon.
Incredibly, this ancient account is identical to the biblical story of how the Tower of Babel was constructed. For scholars, the tablet offers further proof that the Tower of Babel wasn't just a work of fiction. It was an actual building from antiquity.
Do you know what I see here? I see every single house wasting money. Why? Because there's a brand new stimulus.
All righty. So there you go. There's the evidence of the Tower of Babel. First time seen footage. No ever seen that before till it came out, whatever date that was. So that's pretty compelling. Now they have in Brussels, Belgium, they've created their European Union headquarters there, which is really the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire, and it's built as looks like the Tower of Babel. It looks just like it, and that's their headquarters. So they're trying to bring back Nimrod and his Babylon Empire back in the end times. So I mean, it's already built. I have some pictures of it somewhere. I don't know if I can find them quick enough to show them to you, but here I could probably hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it here. That's not gonna be it. Yeah. I don't know where. I can't find it. But anyway, it looks like the Tower of Babel. So anyway, let's continue on here. And where else would the anti-mashiak appear on the scene other than the European Union headquarters that looks just like the Tower of Babel? It really does. I'll find that here in a little bit and show it to you. I've got pictures of it here somewhere. But anyway, let's get back to our Torah portion so we don't run out of time here. Going right into Revelations 18. It says, "And after this I saw another messenger coming down from the heaven, having great authority. And the eretz was lightened from his esteem. And he cried with a mighty voice, saying, Babel the great is fallen, and has become a temple of demons, a haunt for every unclean ruach, and a haunt for every unclean and hated bird, because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. And the sovereigns of the eretz have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her righteous living. And I heard another voice from the heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues, because her sins have piled up to reach the heaven, and Yahuwah has remembered her unrighteousness." Notice the transition. We went from Babylon, into Babel being what? A religious whore is what it is. It's the Catholicism in the Vatican. Exactly what this is. See that? Right now it's talking about come out of her. Come out of the Asha that rides the beast, the whore, the mother of all the whores. It's a religious system. Render to her as she indeed did render, and repay her double according to her works. In the cup which she has mix for her double. Syncretism, right? Syncretism. Mixture of different traditions, religions, cultures. Miss everything, right? Onto one pot, stir pot. That's what they're doing now. Look, they've got the exact duplicate of the Tower of Babel in Brussels, Belgium. It's built. They're using it. They're in it. It's functioning. They're running their European Europe out of it. The rebirth Holy Roman Empire. They're flying the flag of the Holy Roman Empire in front of it. Okay? They have begun the United Religions agenda. Okay? They have coexistence. Headquartered in San Francisco. All the religions, including Wiccan, the witches, sorcerers, voodoo, Islam, Christians, even Orthodox Judaism, all of them, Catholicism. The Pope is the spokesman for it. They're mixing it all together again. They got the Tower of Babel again. They're mixing all the religions again. Universal religion, rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. Nothing's new. Nothing is new under the sun. It just repeats itself, folks. Everything that has happened in the past is happening now. And we're going to see that. You see that as we read through this. So what's going on here? It's just a repeat of the past. Just like the Abomination of Desolation in Daniel 3 times, right? What happens over there in Daniel's prophecies? Okay, there's this 2nd century king comes in from, I think he's from Greece, I'm pretty sure. He comes out, he conquers Jerusalem, he goes, marches into the temple, okay, and he stops the animal sacrifices, and he throws a pig on the altar of Yahuwah and sacrifices a pig to Zeus. And then he marches into the inner sanctuary, into the Holy of Holies, and sets up an altar to Zeus and sacrifices on the altar to Zeus in the Holy of Holies. That was the Abomination of Desolation. It's going to happen again. The anti-mashiak is going to go onto the Temple Mount, and he's going to sacrifice. He's going to stop the animal sacrifices, just like that king did. He's going to set up an altar to Satan, and he's going to sacrifice to Satan on the Temple Mount, the set-apart mountain of Yahuwah, is what he's going to do. And he's going to proclaim to be Yahuwah. He's a real person. He's going to come in there and do that. Just like that king did in Daniel's Abomination of Desolation. Nothing's new under the sun. It repeats itself. It's all shadowing the anti-Mashiach's return in Daniel. Let's continue on here. As much as she esteemed herself and lived riotously, so much torture and grief give to her. Because in her heart she says, I am an empress and I am not a widow. Why? Because she has all these people following after her, right? All her children, right? And I do not see mourning at all. It's still going on, loud and proud, Catholicism. Because of this, her plague shall come in one day. And that's an actual one day. Death and mourning and scarcity of food, and she shall be burnt up with fire, because Yahuwah who judges her is mighty. He's going to let those 10 kingdoms turn on her and nuke her, and Rome is going to fry with a nuclear bomb. That's going to happen right there. And the sovereigns of the earth who committed whoring and lived riotously with her shall weep and mourn over her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torture, saying, Woe, woe, the great city Babel, the mighty city, because your judgment has come in 1 hour. Going to get nuked, and they're not going to approach or standing back because of her torture, because they don't get up there around all that radioactivity. They know a nuclear bomb just went off. They ain't going to go up there, run up there and look around. That's why they're standing back and looking. That's what it's talking about, man. Living for Jesus too. Welcome. Glad you're here. Stick around, man. Maybe you'll learn something tonight. Maybe you won't. Let's find out. And the merchants of the Eretz weep and mourn over her, because no one buys their merchandise anymore. probably crosses and rosaries and statues and all kinds of stuff they sell out of there, right? Merchandise of gold and silver and precious stone and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all citron wood and every object of ivory and every object of most precious wood and bronze and iron and marble and cinnamon and incense and fragrant oil, frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and cattle and sheep and horses and carriages and bodies and lives of men. And the fruit that your being longed for has gone from you. And all your riches and splendor are lost to you, and you shall find them no more, not at all. The merchants of these, those who became rich by her, shall stand at a distance for fear of her torture. See, they're not getting up there because of that radioactivity. Weeping and mourning and saying, woe, woe, the great city that was dressed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches was laid waste, and every shipmaster and every passenger and sailors and as many as worked the sea for their living stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning. See, she's burning, man. They're standing back. The smoke of her burning, saying, what is like this great city? And they threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and mourning, saying, woe, 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 the great city in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. For in 1 hour she was laid waste. Okay. So this becomes pretty obvious who the Asha riding the beast is. If you just read in context, Scripture will usually define the prophecy or a parable to you. Most people don't read far enough to find out the meaning behind it. It's actually written in here. Sometimes they zoom right over and don't really understand that it's giving you the definition of what it just was talking about, of the prophecy or the parable. But it's pretty obvious the Asha, or the whore, the mother of whores, of the harlots, is none other than the Holy Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church, RCC. And let me do a screen share here again. And I'll show you why it's pretty apparent that that's who this is. Let's see. Hang on a minute. Well, here, let me show you this here real quick. And then I'll show you something else. Okay, so what this here is the Revelation 12 sign. Most of you probably have heard about this by now. That all the stars and everything, constellations was lined up directly in relationship to the description of the sign in the heavens in Revelations 12. But here's the Virgo here. This is the legs of the woman and the body and the arms, okay? And Jupiter represents Yahusha. It went in between the legs, stayed there for 9 months, exact period of time a woman is, going to have a baby. And then it came out, okay? And there was 12 stars. These stars were on her head, but then the planets lined up specifically in relationship to this prophecy to make 12 stars, the 9, and then the planets lined up there and gave it 12 stars for a crown over her head. The sun was on her shoulders. I think most of you guys have heard about this by now. But the thing I wanted to show you here that you may not have heard is in this prophecy, it speaks of the red dragon that comes to devour the man child as it's born. And up there, they saw this red haze right here with green eyeballs. See that little black box at the left, down at the left? And then if you look over at the purple box, it says Virgo on it, they stuck a little black box, a rectangle right there, over top of the red and the green and hid it. So people couldn't see it in the images that were shot back down to the earth from the satellites. So they hid the red dragon so nobody could see it. But here's an actual photo of it. On the left, the little black box on the bottom left is what it actually really looked like looking through the telescope. Red dragon with the green eyes. Well, anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. I thought that was pretty weird. So here we go. Hang on a minute. And I'm going to show you why that this description of the whore is none other than, okay, first I got to share you. Let me share screen again real quick. And I think it's right here. There we go. And there we are. All right, so I think I can blow this up for you to see it. Okay, here we go. This is a shot of the Catholic, inside the Catholic Church, Vatican. Look at all the scarlet and red, purple and scarlet in there. All right. There we go. Here's a bunch of scarlet and red, purple and scarlet and gold necklaces and pearls in their rosaries. There they are again. Fine linen. There's some fine linen, some gold, some pearls, scarlet, purple. There they are again. Look at all the scarlet and purple. Very good description of the whore that sits in many waters. They're in all the nations. Look at the statues in the Vatican there. Look at those statues, people. Look at the fine linen, the red and the purple. There you go. Here's your golden cup. Purple, scarlet, gold cup, drinking filled with the abominations. There you go. Scarlet and purple, bowing down, kissing the Pope. Look at that. Look at all that gold. What's he doing? Mixing some kind of potion there. Looks like drug sorcerer or something. Some kind of hocus pocus going on there. Incense or something. A lot of gold there. Becoming pretty obvious that they like scarlet and purple, right? Yeah. There you go. There he is. Look at the snake on him. See the snake right there? Fish hat. Crooks. Adorned in purple. Here you go. Look at all the golden cups filled with the abominations of the world. Okay, this here is the European Union, Reborn Holy Roman Empire. Notice the lady, the Asha, the whore with the golden cup, riding the beast, the horned beast. This is on their money. The Asha on the beast, riding the beast, the whore. And here's their stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stars. Now, if you ask them what that is, they're going to tell you that those stars represent the crown of Mary. Why? Because it's our rebirth Holy Roman Empire. That's why. But what it really is representing, and it's on their flag as well, is the Queen of Heaven. They said the Queen of Heaven is Miriam, of course, but we know better. The Natsarim know better than that. And the Queen of Heaven is Nimrod's mother, the builder of Babylon, right? We all know that. And so anyway, this is off of the rebirth Holy Roman Empire. They even have the statue out front as well. I think the UN does too, if I ain't mistaken. Look at all that purple. Yeah. All right. See what this is here, what I got over here. All right. Now here's some more stuff here, and we'll get back into our Torah portion here. This, my friends, is the whore, the Asha, with the golden cup in her hand. She's riding the beast, the 7-headed beast with the 10 horns. Okay, that's that's the Roman, Holy Roman Empire, the Roman Church, religion, sitting on many nations. Okay, this is the literal depiction, but it's not what it really means. Here you go. There is. I don't know if you can see this character or not, but this I believe to be the names of blasphemy. Seventh-day Adventists, Lutherans, Church of Scotland, all the different circuses controlled from the mother of the Protestants, which is the Catholic Church. So say, even though they broke away and they're now runaway daughters, they are reuniting through coexistence in the united religious agenda of the United Nations initiatives, one world government, one world religion, one world bank, all that kind of stuff. And here you can see where the Pope is manipulating the whole situation, because he's the mother of the runaway harlots. Here we go. Get a look at that. Look at all that red and purple. Red and purple right inside the Vatican. It's just what they do. All right, this is a really interesting photo here. This is what people refer to as the throne of Satan. This is in the Vatican. You find this in the Vatican. It's in the hall that the Pope speaks out of. I can't recall the exact name of that hall now, slipping my mind, but it's in the Vatican. And if you notice, here's the Pope right here in the middle, sitting on the throne. Up above this throne right here, this throne, they say this represents the resurrection or the rapture. But what this is, a bunch of demons coming up out of the pits of hell. This is Satan. Look at this right here. Half human face, half serpent face on this right here. You split that down the middle. That's a serpent and that's a human face. This is his throne in Vatican Hall, where he addresses his peers and visitors up on the stage. But that's what people refer to as the throne of Satan, folks, right there in the Vatican. There's that whore again, riding the beast, coming out of the sea, out of the waters, out of the mayhem. And here, this is that same one, but in Revelations, according to Yahuchanan, they've merged into one beast. So all the beasts, the four beasts, have all merged together into one beast. This beast with all his horns, the lion, the leopard, the bear's feet, and the leopard. Look at that. Dragon tail right there, given power by the dragon. That's Satan. All merged into one beast now in the end times, folks. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. There you go. All right. So that should leave pretty much no doubt in anybody's mind, really, at this point, that this is speaking of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, the reborn, 1993. You can research it, find that out yourself. All right, let's get back to our study. Rejoice over her, O heaven, and you Kodesh emissaries and prophets, for Yahuwah has completely avenged you on her. And one mighty messenger, so while they're mourning and crying and weeping, we're supposed to be rejoicing over her getting nuked. And one mighty messenger picked up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, with such a rush, the great city Babel shall be thrown down and shall not be found any more at all. Be totally gone. What's going to devastate a city in one day to where it can't be found at all? No more. A nuke. So nothing can do it. And the sound of harpists and musicians and flutists and trumpeters shall not be heard in you any more at all. And no craftsman of any trade shall be found in you any more at all. And the sound of a millstone shall not be heard in you any more at all. And the light of a lamp shall not shine in you any more at all. And the voice of bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you any more at all. For your merchants were the great ones of the Eretz. For by your drug sorcery, all the nations were led astray. Whoa. By their drugs. So what are they doing in there? Doing drug sorcery. And in her was found the blood of prophets and set apart ones, and of all who were slain on the Eretz. All right, folks, so that right there concludes that what's going on with the beast, the whore, the Roman Catholic Church is involved, the anti-Machiac is going to come out of the reborn Roman Holy Empire. Okay, it's coming out. He's coming out of there somewhere. All right, and the Babel of Tower has been rebuilt. It's standing in Brussels, Belgium, and everything's being set up. Matter of fact, in Israel, they have all the utensils, tools, everything they need to resume animal sacrificing, believe it or not, and all their different religious ceremonies and stuff. They have all the tools. They got everything remade, just sitting there. Matter of fact, they say they've got the temple itself prefabbed. Then they've got the cornerstone set, and they prefab the rest of it, and it's sitting off site, just waiting for the day that they can go erect it, and they can put it up real fast. It's prefabbed, just sitting there waiting to be erected back up on the Temple Mount. That brings us to what they call the Rock of the Dome, the Temple of Shiva up there on the Rock of the Dome. That's an abomination as well. That's the shrine of abomination of desolation. What does desolation mean? First of all, what does that mean? A desolation. If something's desolate, it's deserted. It's ruins. It's a ruin, deserted place, a place of grief, loneliness, sadness, despair. Desolate. It's abandoned basically by Yahuwah. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he goes into the Dome of the Rock. Who knows what's in there? Might be another throne of Satan in there somewhere. Who knows? I guess people go in there, but I don't think they're allowed to go around the whole in the whole place. But an abomination, is something that's unclean, filthy, abhorred, gross, disgusting, defiled, stuff like that. So there it is. So the abomination of desolation, speaking is in the Hebrew sense, I guess, if you will, would then be meaning to say the abomination causes the desolation. So the abomination causes the desolation. So the desertment or the loneliness, the sadness, the abandonment of Yahuwah, really. If you think about it, on the Temple Mount, it would be just the Yehudim that are over there. They're not allowed to go up there and pray. And they have been doing it in the last few years. So it's kind of a lonely place for them, even though it's their probably the most holy, if you will, place or sacred place in their history. They don't even allow to go up there and praise or pray to Yahuwah on it. Like I said, recently it's been increasing every year, little by little, but it's a very lonely place for them. And the only ones that are allowed to go up there and pray are the Muslims, Islam, on the Dome of the Rock, which makes it an abomination. It's a shrine to Shiva. They know it's a pagan temple. You know what I'm saying? They know it's not the same mighty one. It's not Yahuwah. They're praying to a different one, a different God. So anyway, abomination of desolation, spoken about 3 times in Daniel. It's in Daniel 9:27, Daniel 11:31, and Daniel 12:11. So this is basically then becomes a technical term, if you will, which means that it has a precise and consistent meaning in all 3 passages. So it's not referring to the exact same thing. The phrase refers to an act of abomination that renders. So in this case, the temple, speaking of the temple and something that is unclean, filthy, or gross on there. So it could be that Dome of the Rock, could be called the Abomination of Desolation for sure, because it fits the description. But if we read the 3 Abomination of Desolations in Daniel, we find out that there's another Abomination of Desolation that Yahushua referred to in Matthew, and it's also referred to in 2 Thessalonians. So in Daniel 11:31, it speaks of an act that was fulfilled in history before the first coming of Yahushua. So in Daniel 11:31, a prophecy was written by Daniel in approximately the 6th century BC about a future Syrian ruler by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes, who reigned over Syria in 175 to 164 BC, about 400 years after Daniel. History, of course, has recorded the reign of this man. In verse 31, Daniel prophesied about his activity. They shall pollute the sanctuary of strength and shall take away the daily sacrifice. And they shall place the abomination that maketh desolation. This would be very difficult to understand if we were not for the fact that it has already been fulfilled. Anyone can go back into the history and discover what he did. It's recorded in the apocryphal books of 1st and 2nd Maccabees as well. He was a great persecutor of the children of Israel and did his best to stamp them out and stop their religious practices. And he wanted to place in its stead a worship of the Greek pagan god Zeus. And he did. One of the things he did was to stop the animal sacrifices in the temple. He offered a pig, an unclean animal, on the altar, on Yahushua's altar, in a deliberate attempt to desecrate and render it unclean for Yehuda to worship on Yahuwah on it. In 1st Maccabees 154 specifically records that the abomination of desolation was set up, fulfilling Daniel 11:31. In the Holy of Holies, this king set up a statue of Zeus or an altar or both, and in keeping with the prophecy, the daily sacrifices were stopped and the sanctuary was polluted, desolated, and made an abomination. So it was basically abandoned and was made unclean. It's an unclean place now. Yahuwah wasn't going to be there, right? So this phrase serves as a technical reference to the introduction of an idolatrous image or an act of pagan sacrilege within the sanctuary that produces the highest level of ceremony impurity, the temple profanation. This passage sets the pattern and provides details about what the abomination of desolation consists of. The Daniel 9:27 passage says that this abomination is to take place in the middle of a 7-year period. This passage says in the middle of the week he will put a stop to a sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate. In other words, the future prince or anti will do it at that time exactly how King Antiochus did it in the 2nd century BC. So this is the 2nd century guy that did all the abomination of desolation Daniel spoke about there in 9 was shadowing the end times anti-mashiak, exactly what he's going to do when he comes on the scene and goes into Jerusalem. He's the king of the north. The king of the north, the leader, king of the 4th kingdom or the 8th kingdom, is all the same thing. And he's going to come out of the reborn Holy Roman Empire, which was reborn in 1993, folks. But Daniel goes on to say that the one who commits this act will be destroyed 3.5 years later. Yeah, so once he goes on there and commits the abomination of desolation that king did in the 2nd century, from that point on, when you see that happen, number one, that identifies who the anti-mashiak is. You'll know that's him. Okay? Number two, he's only got 3.5 years from that point. And that'll be the wrath of Hashatan coming out upon the earth. And at the end of them 3.5 years, it'll be the wrath of Yahuwah. The 7 bowls or vials will be poured out on the anti-mashiach and the nations that follow him and come against his people, Jerusalem, and on into Jerusalem. Okay, so Daniel 12:11 provides a precise chronology. The text says, and from the time that the regular sacrifice is abolished and the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. So if you really think about it, folks, you're going to go on there and do exactly what this king did in the 2nd century, right? And it's going to identify him. We're going to know that's him. We're going to know that's the beginning of the 3.5 years of tribulation, right there and then. That starts it. And there's going to have to be something up there for them to be doing these animal sacrifices. Now, either there's going to be a third temple, a physical temple built, like in the 2nd century, the second temple was, something to that effect, or maybe just an outdoor altar, something set up there for them to be performing animal sacrifices and grain offers and stuff up there. Because he's going to stop them when he goes in there and he's going to proclaim him to be Yahuwah. He's going to stop the animal sacrifices, and then he's going to proclaim to be Yahuwah, and he's going to do all his filthiness up there, what it says he's going to do in Scripture. And so there has to be something there for him to go up to and do that. If he goes up and does, if the Yehudim are sacrificing animals in the rock of the dome, I'll be shocked. I don't think so. It's going to be something else. It's going to be a Jewish temple, or it's going to be an animal. There's some kind of an altar set up to Yahuwah, something. You know, I mean, they're already finding out that they don't think that Western Wall was part of the temple. They're saying that now they think that was the fort of Anthony or whatever it was, a Roman fort that was attached to it, a wall for that, and the temple was actually more down onto closer to the city of David. You know, so maybe they're going to go ahead and accept that and build something there. Who knows? But something has to be there for him to go up there and shadow and do exactly what the king in the 2nd century did, because it's prophesied. And Yahushua himself even confirmed it in Matthew. You know, and he said, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of in Daniel, run, head for the hills. Pray that your flight's not on the Sabbath or in the wintertime. Don't even go get your coat. Get out of there when you see him go up there and commit the abomination of desolation spoken of in Daniel. Yahushua himself said that. So it's got to be something other than just the dome of the rock sitting up there, or we'd be running already. Yeah, it's been there for a long time. Nobody's running from that. See what I'm saying? Not to say that's not an abomination of desolation, because it is. If you look at the definition of what abomination of desolation is, yeah, yes, it is. It truly is. It's a pagan situation, okay, and it mimics what happened with that king in the 2nd century, really, because he set up that altar statue and put it right in the Holy of Holies, man. in the temple. That's disgusting, And there, that Dome of the Rock is sitting right up there on the set apart mountain. That's an abomination to Yahuwah. There's no doubt in my mind. So, in addition to these three passages we just spoke about in Daniel, there's two references by Yahusha in Matthew and Luke that speaks about the abomination of desolation. You can look in those if you want to, Matthew and Luke. And then also there's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4. And then you can go to Revelations 13, 14 and 15 also have this event that describes the same event. So therefore, the abomination of desolation, which the reader is to understand, we're supposed to understand these things, includes the following elements, folks. 1, it occurs in a Jewish temple in Jerusalem. That's 2. Daniel 11:31, 2 Thessalonians 2:4 says so. It's got to be something. Number 2, it involves a person setting up a statue in place of the regular sacrifice in the Holy of Holies. Same as that king did in the 2nd century. Daniel 11:31, Daniel 12:11, Revelations 13:14 says so. Number 3, this results in the cessation of the regular sacrifice. Daniel 9:27, Daniel 11:31, Daniel 12:11 says so. Number 4, there will be a time of about 3.5 years between this event, the abomination of desolation, and another event in the end of the time period. Daniel 9:27, Daniel 12:11 says so. The 5th thing is it involves an individual, a man, an individual, a person, setting up a statue or image of himself so that he may be worshipped in place of Yahuwah and claim to be Yahuwah. Daniel 11:31, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, Revelations 13, 14, and 15 says so. Number 6, the image is made to come to life. The image is made to come to life. Revelations 13:14 says so. Number 7, a worship system of this false God is thus inaugurated. 2 Thessalonians 2:4 and Revelations 13, 14, 15 says so. Number 8, at the end of this time period, the individual who commits the act will himself be cut off. Daniel 9:27 says so. There you go, folks. That's about it on that abomination of desolation. So it means different things, but it definitely mimics Daniel's prophecy, confirmation of Yahusha in Matthew and Luke and Revelations, all in 2 Thessalonians, all confirm he's going to mimic what that king did in the 2nd century. Okay? Why are we studying this? Well, because there's many reasons to study prophecy, man. First, the most reason is I love prophecy. I find it fascinating and intriguing that Yahuwah gave us prophecy, and we've seen prophecy fulfilled down through the generations, man. Step by step by step. We're seeing them fulfilled in front of our eyeballs, things that were given to us thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. It's all coming true. And we know what's coming. So, I just find it, intriguing, fascinating myself. I'm amazed at it. I marvel at it. And I just enjoy watching everything happening in front of our eyes, front and center, in most of the world is clueless. They don't even know what's going on. And it's kind of amazing, really. But I mean, Yahusha recommended it. He told us to read Daniel. He said, Matthew, when the abomination that lays waste spoken of in Daniel, you see it, head for the hills. He's referring you over to Daniel, man. Go read it. Know it. Read it. Learn it. Memorize it. Know what's going on. So Yahusha kind of recommended it. Another reason to study prophecy is to prove it proves that Yahuwah is real, because if things that were prophesied thousands of years ago is coming true, then it proves he's real. If just one prophecy comes true, it proves he's real. No other prophecies that men give come true. They just blow them over. Dates come and go. But the prophecies in the scripture come true. So it proves he's real. And it also proves we're living in the end times. It gives us a good timeline to know where we are in scriptural history, what's going on, and when the return of the king will be. So it does that too. So we study it to learn what's going to happen, and when will it happen, and also it prepares us so that our hearts don't fail us. If a supernova happens, if the sun goes out, the moon turns red, the stars fall from heaven, how many people listening to my voice right now are going to faint or die? Let their heart stop from fear because that happened. Not one single person should. We should be celebrating when we see that because of prophecy. We know it's going to happen, and we know what that means. Our redemption draws near, right? The everlasting life's right around the corner at that point. All right? No more sin, no more hate, no more, evil. That's what's coming right around the corner. We see that. You know what I'm saying? So none of us should die from that if that happens right now. We should celebrate, not let our hearts stop from fear and faint and die. So, to know what will happen. So we're prepared. That's another good reason to study prophecy. So be ready for it, man, so our hearts do not fail us from fear. When we see it happening, because we know it's going to happen. We read it. We studied it. We memorized it. We have it in our hearts and in our minds. And like I said, it helps increase your belief, because if the prophecy comes true, then that proves that Yahuwah is real. And, I guess the last thing I can really think of is that prophecy points us to the way to Yahuwah through the gate, narrow gate. It shows us which direction to go in. So those are all really good reasons, to study this stuff. And another really good reason is it says in Revelations 1, verse 3, blessed is he who reads those hearing the words of this prophecy and guard what is written in it. See, keep it, guard it, understand it. For the time is near. So he's promising you, if you read it or hear it, that you will be blessed. He's giving you a blessing for reading or even hearing the prophecy that he's given us. So all those who have heard my voice on these prophecies, you should be expecting a blessing coming your way, because it's written in scripture. Revelations 1:3 says so. Right? All right. So Let's see now. There's a real interesting article that I had run into that teaches, I mean, it kind of goes along with the teaching of the 10-horned beast in the prophecy that we were just kind of going over. And basically, as we read in Daniel 7, it tells us that he was given a vision of 4 beasts that represented kingdoms or nations that would exist at the time of the second coming of Yahushua. So they have to be on the planet when before Yahushua can come back. And the 4 beasts described in Daniel 7, verses 4 through 7, and the modern nations they symbolize are a lion and with eagle wings, which is, the lion is Great Britain and the United States. Okay, came out of the lion. So at this particular time, it's before the Revolutionary War, because we were still part of Great Britain. The eagle wasn't by itself. So the lion had eagle's wings in Daniel's prophecy. That's one of the kingdoms. And then the second was a bear. And the bear represents Russia. We all know that. And the third beast was a 4-headed leopard. More than likely Germany, the 4 Reichs of Germany. And the Third Reich head was split, was injured when Germany lost World War II. They split the country in half, split Berlin in half, and the German people suffered greatly. The Germany was pretty much non-existent other than name. It didn't have any power. It was totally split and owned by the rest of the world. Pretty much dead country. Then, of course, the 4th in Daniel's was, hi, Baruch Yahuwah, glad you're here. A 10-horned beast, which is, we just figured out, is the reborn Holy Roman Empire, or the current European Union with their headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, that duplicates the Tower of Babel. Any doubt in your mind the anti-mashiak's going to take up residence in the rebuilt Tower of Babel? I'd say that's where he's going to be. So in Revelations now, Yahuchanan uses these same symbols of nations to describe the end time, the tribulation year world government, the one world government of the anti-mashiak. In Yahuchanan's account, these 4 separate nations that we just read about in Daniel 7 have federalized into one large global governing body, in which will be ruled by the anti-mashiach. Okay, so it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. This is out of the nations now. This isn't a body of water. This isn't the Pacific Ocean or the China Sea. This is the nations, the Gentiles. Okay, so he saw a beast rise up out of the nations. Okay, that's what the seas means, or the mayim. Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, the European Union, okay? And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, with Germany is going to be involved here. And his feet were as a feet of a bear, Gog, Magog, that's Russia. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion, Great Britain. And the dragon, Hashatan, gave him his power. The dragon is Hashatan. Okay, so the Hashatan gave this beast its power, or the anti-mashiak, his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. This 2,000-year-old prophecy of a one world government, folks, is currently being established right now, today, this very hour, in Brussels, Belgium, in the Vatican. As soon as the anti-Machiac comes on the scene, an abomination of desolation goes up under that temple, stops animal sacrifices, proclaims to be Yahuwah, puts a statue in there of himself, and makes people worship that statue. You know who the anti-Messiah is. Right there and then, it starts the 3.5 years of tribulation, period. That we know for a fact. Right there and then, we know it. Guess what else we're going to know? As soon as that happens, we're going to find out who the false prophet is. And I have a very sneaking suspicion that the false prophet's going to be coming out of that scarlet and purple we just read about. But anyways, the one thing I had discovered here in this little article was that something that's kind of cool is the 10-nation union that's formed. Did you notice in Hukanen's account that the lion didn't have the eagle's wings? That's because the United States broke away from Great Britain and became the eagle by itself. That was after the Revolutionary War, and then stood up as a man, which is Uncle Sam, the likeness of a man. And so that showed the split between the lion and the eagle's wings. Anyway, a 10-nation union formed that we just read about. Daniel 2:44, Daniel 7:8, Revelation 17:12 through 14. Over the last several years, Europe has proposed a two-tiered European Union, which would allow select nations to charge full speed ahead into a fully integrated political union and potentially protect the Euro skeptics not so willing to yield all their sovereignty. This would allow for a 10-nation union to arise among the current membership. These 10 nations will form an alliance with the anti-Mashiach right before the second coming of Yahushua HaMashiach. So this is mind-blowing to me because right now the European Union has 27 members. So it doesn't jive with Scripture, right? And you're like, well, why are they going to get 10, out of the 10 kingdoms out of 27? So maybe it's not the European Union. But now all of a sudden this comes into the news. They're splitting it. They're going to have a two-tier system. Kind of like the system of the beast, ain't it? With a three-tier. So the ones that are fully committed can go to level number 1 and be united as one mind together. The rest of them are going to be in the second tier. We'll leave the skeptics down here, to be the bottom feeders. We're going to rule over them. We're going to tell them what to do because we're the supreme being. We're the supreme kings, the rulers, us 10. And we've got one mind, and we're going to rule over the world and them. So, I mean, it's like the stage is being set, and now all of a sudden it can happen. There's a way. There's a path to the 10 kingdom to mature and become a reality. So I found that like really intriguing right there, man. I thought that was like mind-blowing stuff to me. But here again, we're not, afraid by any means, or fearful or worshiping the anti-Machiac or nothing like that. We're just studying scriptural prophecy and current events to coincide or collaborate with what's been prophesied and given us to by our master and our king of kings, Yahushua. That's all. We're not, that's not all we're doing. We're not worshiping anybody. So basically then, folks, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. If anybody wants to come on here, you can. But basically, the timeline here, there's a final 7 years allocated to mankind. And so we have Yahuwah gave us 6,000 years. Okay. At the very end, at the 6,000 years, 7 years prior to the 6,000th year that he's given us, right, starts the final countdown, the final 7 years. The Abomination of Desolation takes place right smack dab in the middle of that 7. So when that happens, it identifies the anti-mashiak for us, tells us who he is. It starts the tribulation years, the last 3.5, the tribulation. No more end times, well, still the end times, but the tribulation years. And then we find out the identity of the false prophet probably almost immediately. And then we go through the 3.5 years of tribulation. And then at the end, it climaxes at the Battle of Armageddon and the wrath of Yahuwah and the return of Yahusha. Okay. So that's what it all is. And then, of course, this, the Yehudim will meet their Mashiach, and when he comes down onto the Mount of Olives, the King of Kings, the high priest with all his kings and priests, his loyal people following him, which is us. And then we come down there, they come out to meet him. They recognize him by the piercings in his palms. They ask him, how did you get those piercings? And he said, it was done to me by my friends, right? And they recognize him as their Mashiach at that point. And then the anti-Machiac and the false prophet will be thrown into the lake of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth and total destruction. And Ha-Shatan, the devil, the old serpent, will be thrown into the bottomless pit and bound for 1,000 years. Okay, and then we go into the 1,000-year millennium reign of Yahusha, and we reign with him for 1,000 years over the waters, the Mayim, Gentiles, the nations. And then when that's over, Ha-Shatan must be loosened for a little while. And then he gathers an army, a large army. So there's going to be a lot of people who have procreated and repopulated the planet. He's going to get an army that's larger than the sands of the seashore. Going to be a big army, Gog and Magog again, and they're going to march against the camp of the Kadeshim and Yahusha, and then he's just going to say, you're done. Then you're going to throw Ha-Shatan into the lake of fire with all his army and his followers, and everybody that had the mark of the beast are going to be in there as well. And after that, great white throne judgment, and the second resurrection, the great white throne judgment, and then eternity, folks. So that's what's coming down the pipe. So let me invite you all in, and I'm going to cut it short. I had a ton more stuff to share with you, but we're not going to be able to get to it, unfortunately, because it's really, really good stuff too. But, we're restricted in our time here. I could go all night, but I know most of you can't. So I'll go ahead and cut it short. Here's a link if anybody wants to come on and talk about it. or talk about anything else, anything you want. Doesn't have to be this subject. But that's about it, man. I mean, for the anti-mashiak. And here's the kicker. Lud Havons. Glad you're here, man. Hey, I hate to break this to you, but beware. If that anti-mashiach comes up on that Temple Mount in Jerusalem and tells you his name is Jesus Christ, don't follow him. More than likely, he's going to be coming in that program name. That's a Greek name. It's not a Hebrew name. It's not an English name. It's not a Spanish name. It's not even being pronounced correctly. The proper pronunciation would be Jesus. Jesus. It's a Greek name. If he says that's who he is, run for the hills, like Yahushua said. Run for the hills. And don't even bother to go get your coat. Don't follow him. The true name of the Mashiach is Yahusha. And he will be coming from the clouds as he ascended. He will return in the eastern sky down onto the Mount of Olives on white horses and with his army with him. Myriads of messengers and his kings and priests along with him down to the Mount of Olives, and there will be a great earthquake. The Mount of Olives will split in half. The Yehudim will recognize him as their Mashiach. Okay, that's how you'll know that it's the true Messiah. A false prophet, imposter, a fraudster, goes up onto Jerusalem, onto the Temple Mount area, whether in a rebuilt temple, a set-up altar, and the dome of the rock, whatever. It stops animal sacrifices, proclaims to be Yahuwah, sets up a statue up there, an image or an altar, in likeness of himself, and makes the world worship it, and says, I am Jesus Christ, your Savior. You better run for the hills. Do not follow the programmed name. That's just a warning from me to you. Anybody want to come on? Next week, we're going to have a really, really, really cool program and study, okay? And we're going to study about a little bit kind of like this, but we're going to be looking a little bit harder through a transparent glass, if you will, at Hashatan and the Anti-Machiac, and find out who's who and what's going on there. And then I'm going to show a little video of me and a brother that we made a year or so back, and in order to expose Hashatan even further and the false religion, the false name, and his snares, traps, and how he deceives the world through many, many schemes, many, many stratagem. But we will expose him greatly next week, so don't miss it. It's going to be a really, really good one. Invite people, because they're going to really want to see this next one coming up. It's going to be an eye-opener, and some of you may have seen the video before, but you may have not noticed some of the weird phenomenon that happened during that recording, and I'll point out some of them as we're watching through it together. So bring your popcorn and your sodas, and be prepared to kick back and have a good time next week. Should be really, really, really interesting. Yeah, there is a huge delusion going around the world for sure, and I feel sorry for people. And I want to say something here. to you guys. I mean, it's sometimes we kind of portray ourselves as opposite or in opposition to Christianity. I mean, I know we exposed the RCC tonight in the runaway daughters, the mother of the whores and all the little harlot daughters. But in reality, listen, man, we got to kind of change our mindset a little bit, because we all came out of Christianity. Almost everybody I know, all the Natsarim I know, was at one time in Christianity, and that includes Catholicism. They're Christian too. And what I'd like to suggest is that, if you will, and you guys think about it, but I think we need to kind of change our mind and our attitudes, adjust our attitudes just a little bit toward the lost. Because instead of seeing them as enemies and hating them and stuff, like the Jews did the Gentiles back, in the older days, maybe we should be looking at it as Christianity. The circus is like a farm system, like in baseball. I know baseball really well. And they have a farm system. And what they do is they bring all the high school kids, college kids that can play baseball really good or is interested in playing baseball into their farm system. And they teach them and they grow and mature through the farm system. And then all of a sudden they become better players. So they move up in the ranks. And before you know it, they get up into the AAA farm system, and all the scouts, and we'll say like Yahuwah is a scout, right? And he's searching out the world, and he's looking through that farm system, and he's saying, okay, you've got a pure heart. You have a love for the truth. You're really seeking me out. Come out of her, my people. And he pulls them out of the farm system and sends them to the pros. And they become professionals. And they become workers of the harvest. They become his servants of righteousness. And they seek out the lost sheep with him and speak truth, no matter what. Even if you tremble, speak truth. As you're speaking it, speak it. Maybe we should look at him that way. I was in there at one time. He called me out, made me a pro, as he did most of all you, Natsarim, beloved of Yahuwah. So, are you going to tell me that there's not a lost sheep in them circuses somewhere? That he's still training and purifying and getting ready to yank out of there and throw over into our team and be a Natsarim? You better believe there is. You better believe there is. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we should look at it as a farm system. We're just a bunch of amateurs over there trying to worship Yahuwah, seek out his face, do what they're following their teachers. Most of them, it ain't their fault. They're just following what they're being taught by the false teacher or the uninformed, counsels of the uninformed. Who knows? But I know for sure, and this I know for a fact, I promise you this, there's brothers and sisters still in the circus. And he's going to call them out one day, and then we should be ashamed. We should have a shamed face of the way we talked about our brothers and sisters that hadn't come out yet. See what I'm saying? So I think we should have a little bit of an attitude adjustment on that, kind of change, have more compassion and mercy on the Christians, because I really feel sorry for them, because I know what they're going through. They're being lied to. They're not understanding the truth. They're deceived. They're living in the delusion. They're asleep. They're blinded. They've been scattered. If they're the lost sheep, they were scattered by Yahuwah, and he stayed away from them and left them all alone. You know, I feel sorry for them. I really do. And they're calling on a false name. They don't even know the name of their mighty one. They don't even know who they worship. And so I kind of felt sorry for them. So if they're his sheep, he'll call them out. He knows his sheep, and his sheep knows his voice. So when he calls, they come. He whistles for them, they come running. You know? And so we should just be patient with them. Look at it as a farming system for Yahuwah. Wait for him to pick out the ones that are refined, love the truth, seeking his face. He's ready to come out, and he calls them out, brings them over onto our team, and then we can help them mature and learn and advance them up to be kings and priests along with us. And then we follow the king of the kings. We're the kings that he's king over. And priests, he's the high priest that's over us. We're the priests too. He's our high priest. See what I'm saying? So we train them so they can rule in their territory, in their reign, efficiently, and expand, increase the kingdom of Yahuwah. That's what it's all about. We have to rule our territory. I'm here in Sulphur Springs, Texas. You may be in Maryland, Illinois, California. What are you doing over there in your reign? Are you reigning? Are you ruling your territory mightily? Are you being obedient in your territory? Being bold, courageous, spreading the Basora of Yahuwah? Or are you just sitting in your house hiding and shaking like a joker? Not even sitting on your throne, not even taking your dominion, being the priest and the king of your territory where Yahuwah had planted you. What are you doing over there? So I'd like to know what some of you are doing. We need to get out there and work the harvest, increase our territories. We're kings and priests to Yahuwah, along with Yahusha. We share in the inheritance. We're going to rule, and we're going to judge the Gentiles in the millennium reign. Get busy. You don't have to wait. The reign is here and now. Start ruling over your reign now. You have Yahusha in you. You have all authority in you to fulfill your destiny. You're a king and a priest. Start acting like it. Rule your territory. Take dominion over your reign that Yahusha has given you. He has trusted you. You understand that? Yahuwah has trusted you to reign wisely in the territory he has given you. That's why we're all spread around. This is practice, folks. Get practicing. Right now, we're practicing the appointed times. We're practicing reigning, ruling, and judging. Just like we're going to do in the millennium reign. That's right. That's right. Anyway, let me see here now. Nobody's coming on. Is everybody stunned or what? Here we go. I'll throw this out here. Yeah, let's see here now. I don't want to get in too deep here. Well, I do want to go. Let me go over here Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so is everything, nothing's new under the sun, okay? Everything repeats itself, basically. So the anti-mashiach is going to repeat exactly what the king in the second century did, okay? The king of the north, okay, is repeative as well, okay? And in the end, it is an anti-mashiach. He's going to go to war with, it says, the king of the south. And in the later times, okay, it comes, they represented Egypt, and it represented like Syria, up in that area, Turkey up in there, north of Israel and south when it was Egypt, right? Well, in the latter times, you were dealing with just the king of the north and king of the south as well. We really don't know there's not a whole lot there, but we do know that the king of the north is going to be the anti-mashiach. And probably, since everything repeats, the king of the south is going to be some kind of coalition involving Egypt. It may be, all the Moab and a lot of those other different countries down there around them, or for some reason are going to get into a fight with the king of the north for some reason. Doesn't really say why, but that's also something that seems to going to propel us into even more evil and war and stuff like that toward the end times. So that's what that's kind of talking about. I know a lot of people get hung up on that. I don't think it's not that big of a deal. But it is definitely some kind of skirmish, some kind of warfare, something that goes on between Egypt and maybe an alliance against the anti-mashiach and his northern armies. Something weird. It may be when he comes into Jerusalem and claims to be the Messiah, like we were just talking about, may trip them off, maybe over oil or money. Who knows? It doesn't really say. But that's all that's about. That's nothing to get real concerned over, other than it tells us there's going to be some kind of skirmish or conflict there involving the anti-mashiach in Egypt and possibly an alliance. That's all. That's in Daniel. So that's what that was talking about there. I think that, really, I think the anti-mashiach is going to be a Roman, because, and the reason I'm saying that is because, Rome came in there and destroyed the temple, right? The second temple. And so therefore, I think that the anti-mashiach is going to go in there and confirm the covenant and build that peace back up, because they're the ones that destroyed it, tore down the temple, just stole everything, marched them all over into slaves into Rome and all kinds of stuff, right? So I think they're going to come back and confirm the covenant, try to make peace, and then he's going to get in there and get up onto that Temple Mount type deal. So I think he's going to be a Roman myself, which makes sense. And I think maybe the false prophet, which is going to definitely support the anti-mashiach. He's going to be like his right-hand man, right? And will be possibly, more than likely, the Pope, the Catholic Pope, because it just seems to fit in with the description that we read here. And it says that in Revelations 13, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. So we know the lamb would represent Yahusha, right? So we're talking a religious sect here now, and if you will. And he's, there's no religion required to worship Yahusha. Yahusha has no religion, right? I'm just using words so I can explain things, all right? And he spake as a dragon. So he had 2 horns like a lamb. So he acted like he was just loving type person like Yahusha. But he spoke like a dragon, like a devil. So it must have been going to throw some lies and deceitment out there or something, right? Lying, deceitfulness, delusion. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, which is the anti-mashiak, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. So he causes the people to start worshiping the anti-mashiach. But the people listen to the Pope, man. I mean, he's the one that, if there's one religious person on this planet people listen to, it's that Pope. Catholic Pope, man. All the prostitutes, all the runaway daughters, all the harlots, Protestants as protesters is where that come from. The Protestants are the protesters. They protested against their mother. They rebelled against the mother whore, their mother, and they ran away and it started their own homes, right? They're the protesters. They protested. They rebelled. Rebellion is the same as what? Witchcraft? Anyway, they ran away from the mother. And so it says, and all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now this kind of sounds like, the wound on the leopard, the Germany, on the Third Reich, I can get. This here sounds like, now, and I'm not real positive on this, but it sounds like the anti-mashiach is going to get wounded, receive some kind of injury, and die, and then come back to life. And it's going to cause everybody to start worshiping, because they're going to think, oh, this has to be the Messiah. He resurrected himself. You know what I'm saying? And the whole world's deceived and follows after the first beast. And the second beast is going to confirm, yeah, that's him. See, he even brought himself back from the dead. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds like that. I'm not positive, but it sure does seem like something like that's going to happen as well. But once the anti-mashiach is revealed, again, once he's revealed, we will know the identity of the false prophet. He'll be revealed to us probably almost immediately after. Okay? And he will be the leader of the end time false world religious system, and will have 2 objectives, folks. 2 objectives, the false prophet. Step number 1, it will be unite the world's religions under one belief system of tolerance. Same as Constantine I did, right? With universalism, Catholicism. He combined everything in his kingdom, that big Roman Empire, all their beliefs, traditions, cultures, fairy tales, myths, whatever you call them, all into one, and brought a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just mixed everything up, so everybody would be happy and be peaceful, and he could and he'd fall under his rule, and he could rule them easier. There wouldn't be no uprising. Everybody would feel like their culture was represented, and so they became one mind, if you will, united under Constantine, and this here one mind united under the anti-mashiak. It's what they're trying to do, of course. It's what they're trying to do. So unite the world's religions under one belief system of tolerance. And number two, the false prophet, this is the agenda here, use his pious position to influence all adherents to align with and pledge allegiance to the prophesied end-time world government, otherwise known as the beast. So here we have two beasts. You have the anti-mashiach, which a lot of people refer to as Hashatan's son, who Yehukanan or Al-Azhar likes to call the beast. So he's also known as the beast. All right. And then we have this world system that is going to be promoted by the false prophet and have you worshiping the beast, which is not the anti-Mashiach, but one world government of sorts. And you're going to have to take an allegiance to that. So here's my theory. And y'all may agree, and maybe you don't, maybe you do. But I believe World War III is going to come just prior, the one that 200 million people, army, a third of mankind will die. They will dry up the Euphrates River. 200 million men will march across. Third World War, if you will, okay, is going to kill so many people. The carnage is going to be so heavy. They're not even going to be able to bury the people. They ain't going to know what to do with them. There's going to be so much carnage. It's just going to be intolerable levels of carnage. I mean, unmanageable. Anyway, it's going to be so horrible. 1/3 of mankind. That's more people than all the world's wars that's ever been fought. All the wars that's ever been fought on this planet combined. All the casualties, wounded combined is not even come close to 1/3 of mankind in today's population. It doesn't even come close. That's a lot of people. It's been proven mathematically that many people cannot be killed under conventional warfare tactics. It has to be nuclear, biological, and chemically induced warfare to kill that many people. You can't kill that many people in a conventional war. Impossible. The numbers don't add up. Been mathematically proven. See, so anyway, after that many people are killed in World War III, just prior to the final 7-year period, the world's going to be screaming for peace, man. People are going to be going crazy. This can't happen anymore. This is the final straw. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. We got to do something. This can't ever happen again. And then that's going to be the key. It's going to be the signal for the anti to come on the scene. He's going to have all the answers, right? He's going to say, I can fix it all, but I have to have total alliance. I have to have, everybody has to follow, do what I say, and be in compliance. or it won't work. And the world's going to just start making people do what that guy says, or they'll kill you, behead you, do whatever, put you in a training camp, whatever they're going to do, But the point I'm trying to make here is something significant has to happen for him to come in and the whole world follow him, But maybe during this World War III event, maybe he gets killed. Maybe he gets killed somehow, and then all of a sudden he comes back to life and he claims to be the Messiah, and everybody starts following him under the program name. He goes in there, walks up into the Temple Mount, sits up a statue, makes everybody start worshiping him. That'd be an abomination of desolation, wouldn't it? It would for me. But anyway, that's the false prophet. That's what his two objectives are going to be. Unite the world's religions, all the religions under one belief system of tolerance, use his pious position, influence all the adherents to align with and pledge allegiance to the prophesied end time world government. That's what he's going to be up to. And he's going to say everything. He's going to call signs, right? Fire come down from the sky. He's going to show miracles as well. And then people say, "Oh my, whoa! Are you Yahuwah? How'd that happen? How'd you make that happen?" He said, "Oh, the beast over here, the J-man, gave me the power to do it. Follow him." And he's going to lead many people astray following the anti-mashiak, because he's going to tell him that all the things that he's done has been given by the power from him, but really it's all the power and signs and wonders is coming from who? Ha-Shatan, who's given him the power to do these things. So Ha-Shatan is going to be thrown down to this earth, and he's going to come in wrath, man. He's going to be fierce, and he's going to just go crazy on mankind. And he's going to be allowed to do it because he overcomes us. He says he does. He says he overcomes the Kadeshim. It does say that. So there you go. The anti-Machiac will reveal. 2 Thessalonians 2. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. The man of sin is the anti-Mashiach. The son of perdition. The son of perdition is the anti-Mashiach. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahuwah, or that is worship, so that he, as Yahuwah, sits in the temple of Yahuwah, showing himself that he is Yahuwah. So according to 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 here, when that man stands, he has to be standing in a third temple, in the temple of Yahuwah, and proclaims to be Yahuwah. And when he does that, folks, that is the day, that is the exact moment in time that the identity of the anti-Mashiach will be revealed to us. And it's the beginning of the final 3.5 years, the tribulation years. The wrath of Ha-Shatan is what it is. It's the wrath of Satan, not the wrath of Yahuwah. Wrath of Yahuwah comes later. It's the wrath of Ha-Shatan. And he's using that anti-Mashiach and the false prophet to do his will. There's the link. Anybody wants to jump on, come on. We've got time. We've only been on here a couple of hours. Speaking of that, 2 Thessalonians, man, what a great chapter, second chapter. What a great chapter. Most of the Natsarim I know are familiar with it. Those that are not, I suggest studying that 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Study it a lot, because it is it's just power packed, extremely powerful. Let me read you a little bit more of it. Come on here if you want to. Give testimony, talk about this subject, talk about anything you want. Okay, 2 Thessalonians, this is the Natsarim channel, folks. It's accessible to you to communicate with each other, to share what Yahushua is giving you, talk to your brothers and sisters. It's your opportunity. Okay, this isn't my channel. I'm just running my mouth because you guys won't come on here. Just come on now and share what Yahushua has for you, has for us, the body. You know, don't be shy. You can't be shy. You got to be courageous. He doesn't like cowards. You can't be a coward. You have to take charge, and you have to take over your territory. Run Satan and his demons out of your territory and proclaim the land that Yahushua has put you there, is giving you as his land. I fly this flag out here in front of my house. You see it? See this flag right here? I put a big flagpole out here in front of my house, and I fly that thing day and night out in front of my house. Well, where's that? I put another one out there. I claim this territory for Yahuwah. Period. Hashatan and his demons are not welcome here on my ranch, in my town, in my state, in my territory that Yahushua has put me in charge of. I am the king and the priest here under the reign of Yahuwah. He is my King of kings and my high priest. I obey him and him alone. You all need to start doing that. We need to take back Yahuwah's kingdom and the property that he's given us to control. That's why we're spread apart all over the place and scattered. You have to stand up for Yahuwah and his word. You have to spread the Besorah in your territory. That's your job. We're all kings and we're all priests. Gotta do it, man. That's right. There's the message of the day. It's coming across loud and clear to me, through Yahushua to you. That's what he's wanting all of you to go do. Stop playing around. This is serious, folks. Serious times. Okay, and it's coming. It's coming. So better get prepared for it. You better claim your territory and start defending it. You are battling against darkness, principalities of darkness, evil, wicked, ruachs. Tell them they're not allowed in your area. They're not allowed in your home. They're not allowed on your land. They're not allowed in your town. They're not allowed in your city. They're not allowed in your territory. They're not allowed in anywhere in the borders of your reign that's been given to you by Yahuwah to control and watch over and reign and spread the Besorah in. They are not welcome there. Get out of there and don't come back in the name of Yahushua and start doing your job. Natsarim. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first, and the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as Yahuwah in the Mishkan of Yahuwah. showing himself that he is Yahuwah. So he's a big, fat identity thief. Do you not remember that I told you this while I was still with you? As Paul's saying that to the people in the Thessalonian assembly in the Thessalonian. And now you know who restrains for him to be revealed in his time. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who now restrains comes out of the mist. So the lawless one, the anti-mashiak, is the controller, the one the restrainer. Okay. What's the secret of lawlessness? The secret of lawlessness is you don't have to obey. Right? The secret of lawlessness, you do not have to obey. You only have to believe. That's what the secret of lawlessness is. What is lawlessness? It's sin. Sin is lawlessness. Okay? So if you disobey, disobedience is unrighteousness. Okay? If you're righteous, then you are obedient to the instructions of Yahuwah. That's righteousness. So if you're obedient, you're righteous. You're a servant of righteousness. If you're disobedient, you're unrighteous. Sin is lawlessness. The secret of lawlessness is you do not have to obey Yahuwah. You can break his covenant and do whatever you want because he obeyed them for us. Okay? What is all that about? That's lies from the devil. That's a doctrine of demons. It's spawned by demons and spread throughout the circuses because those people are lost. They're living in a delusion, a huge delusion is what they're doing. They're living in a delusion. All right. And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the ruach of his mouth and bring to nothing with the manifestation of his coming. So he's going to destroy him. He's going to be destroyed. The appearing of the lawless one is by means of the working of Shaitan. See, so the lawless one is the anti-mashiak. He doesn't obey any laws of the Yahuwah. He's the lawless one. Sin is lawlessness. He's the man of lawlessness. He's teaching the secret of lawlessness, which is a big fat lie to get you to be disobedient to Yahuwah so that you'll go into the lake of fire and where there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. So working of Shaitan gives him the power. He's getting the power from the devil with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood. So Satan is going to give the anti-Mashiach and the false prophet means of working power, signs, and wonders of falsehood. And with all deceit of unrighteousness. What's unrighteousness? Disobedience. In those perishing. All right. And with all deceit of unrighteousness, in those perishing, the lawless ones, unrighteousness, right? And those perishing because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be delivered. That is so huge. If you don't receive a love for the truth, what's the truth? The Ruach HaKodesh is truth. The word is truth. Yahuwah's word is truth. The Ruach is truth. When we speak truth, we esteem Yahuwah. When we speak lies, we esteem Satan. When we speak truth, we esteem Yahuwah. When we speak falsehood, we esteem ha-shatan. This way it is, man. Every time you say a little lie, you're esteeming the devil. When you say truth, especially scriptural truth, you're esteeming Yahuwah. So they did not receive, and those perishing, they're going to go to the lake of fire, man. They're perishing because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be delivered. So if I tell you, and can kind of prove to you that the true name of the Savior or deliverer is a Hebrew name, and that name is Yad-He-U-He, or Yahusha, okay, which means I am your deliverer, or Yah is your deliverer, okay? And I say his true name is Yahuwah, okay? You should have a love for the truth, and you should have a love for his name. When you hear his name for the first time, the inside of you should light up. And you should be very joyful and love the truth. What? His real name is Yahuwah? And start using it. You know, that's the love for the truth, man. If you say, I don't think he cares what you call him. I'm going to call him what everybody else does, because if I call him that Hebrew name, they'll call me a Judaizer or something, man. Throw me out of the circus. Maybe they'll take away my baptism certificate and I won't be saved anymore. You know. So then you go back and you start living the lie and using the false name after you've learned the true name. Guess what? You're going to perish. It just says that because you didn't have a love for the truth when you heard it. You have to love the truth, man. You have to love truth, want truth, seek truth, eat truth, drink truth, sleep truth, wake up with truth. It's all about truth. And then when you find out that it's all about truth and all you want to do is pursue truth, and guess what? Truth is the vehicle that's going to take you to the final destination, take you to the completion of the Torah, take you to find who you're seeking, Yahuwah. And that, my friends, is love. Truth will lead you to love. And when you find love, you find Yahuwah. Because Yahuwah is love. And for this reason, Yahuwah sends them a working of delusion. Because they didn't love the truth. Yahuwah, the Almighty, Al Shaddai, creator of heaven and the earth and the seas and all that is in them, is going to send you a working of delusion. Because you did not love the truth when you heard it. For them to believe the falsehood. You're going to give them a delusion for these so they can believe the falsehood. The lawless one, the fraudster, the fraud, the imposter, the liar, the unrighteous one, the man of perdition. He's going to make you believe that dude. When he comes on there and says he's Yahuwah, he's going to send you a delusion to believe him because you didn't love the truth when you heard it. So he's going to allow you to follow him, take the mark of the beast, and get thrown into the lake of fire under a delusion, a working of delusion. Because you didn't love his truth when you heard it. Better let that sink in. Let that sink in, people. Absorb that. Let that become part of who you are. Because if you don't, you're going to perish. You are going to perish. In order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in lawlessness. That's amazing. So look, if you say to me, you don't have to obey the 10 Commandments, that's the Old Testament. The J-man obeyed them for me, so I don't have to. The law has been abolished. The Torah has been abolished. We're living in the new age of grace, and all we have to do is believe in the J-man and be baptized in the name of the J-man, and I can go do whatever I want, because once saved, always saved, and I accepted him as my Savior and was baptized in the J-man's name on December 25th, 1994. Okay, so what just happened to you? When I tell you all that's a lie, none of that's true, and I can prove it to you, so I do, and then you don't listen, and you say, no, I don't have to be obedient to those commandments. It's just no way. If I say, well, it says in Proverbs that if whoever turns away from the Torah, even their prayers are an abomination. Even your prayer is an abomination. It's unclean. It's filthy. It's gross. It's unaccepted by Yahuwah because you turned your head away from the Torah, his covenant of love, his blood covenant. Okay, so even your prayers are an abomination, so stop praying to him. You're not praying to him in the right name anyway. You're using the name of the devil, the J-man, to pray. You're praying to the devil. You don't know it, and Yahusha may forgive you and have compassion on you for doing it because he knows you're doing it out of ignorance, but that's what you're doing. Whether you know it or not, he knows it. He's very compassionate, very merciful, very loving. Alehim. So he'd probably forgive you for your ignorance. But that's what you're doing. So in that regards, in order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in lawlessness. So you delighted, you didn't obey the truth, you didn't believe the truth. You don't believe me when I say you have to be obedient. You have to be engrafted into Israel. You have to start obeying the 10 Commandments, obeying Yahuwah, okay, and put those commandments on your doorposts of your house, and talk about them to your children, teach them to your children, and obey them out of love for Yahuwah and his word. And you say, I ain't doing that. I don't have to do that. Those have been abolished. I'm going to go out and I'm not doing any of those. Those are stupid. Nobody on this planet can do those. It's impossible to do them. And you can't do them. I can't do them. Nobody can do them. They've been abolished. Yahusha threw them out. So we don't have to do that anymore. So you continue to be lawless, you're going to perish. You're going to perish. It says right here that in order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in lawlessness. You're delighting in lawlessness. Lawlessness is sin. Sin is lawlessness. Lawlessness is sin. Lawlessness is disobedience to Yahuwah's commands. If you love me, keep my commands. That's what he says. Anyone who says that he knows Yahuwah but does not keep his commands is a liar. And the truth is not in him. What's the truth? The Ruach is truth. So you don't have the Ruach in you if you don't obey his commands. So one of the big signs, one of the huge pieces of evidence, other than seeing the fruits of the Spirit, is somebody who obeys the commandments. If they obey the commands, they have the love for Yahuwah. They know Yahuwah, and they love him. It's a sign that you love him. If you don't obey the commandments, that means you do not know him. And if you say you do, he says you're a liar. I don't say it. He says it. That's all scriptural. So anyhow, there's something here else I want to share here real quick. You sure nobody wants to come on now? There you go. Maybe you can come on. You can come on if you want to. Somebody. Let's see here. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes, see if anybody comes on. If you don't, well, I'm going to cut it short. That was just a joke. We've been on here almost 3 hours. Next week's going to be really, really good, man. So you might want to make a point to log in next Shabbat. And you won't be disappointed. Should be a lot of fun. Barak haba b'shem Yahuwah. So a lot of people, they'll say, well, you don't have to obey. You don't have to be obedient because Yahusha, came and he was the living Torah. He was the Word, the living Torah. And so since the Torah was staked on the stake and died, that means that the Torah died and was thrown out, was abolished through his stake of Yahusha. And then they say that he gave us a new command that got rid of all the old commands, which they call the 10 Commandments, and gave us a new command that all we have to do then is to love one another as I have loved you. And that's all we have to do. But then they turn right around and say, well, that's impossible too. How can you love somebody more than you love yourself? And that's what is a kind of an amazing statement for me. I've never really been able to grasp that, the ideology behind that statement, because it's easy to love other people more than yourself. Unless you kind of got brain damage or something, you know what I mean? I mean, where would you be without other people? If you were just isolated all alone, man, what kind of life would that be? Nobody to share love with, or to love you back. Is not my idea of living, but kind of a weird thing there. But anyway, what I'm trying to get to here is that Yahusha did not give us a new command. He gave us a renewed command. And unfortunately, through many translations, English translations, things have been, misinterpreted, translated, purposely changed. And I say that with reservation. I hate to think that somebody would have the audacity to change the words of truth to influence people into their way of thinking, or changing it the way they think it should say because it sounds better to them. But I'm sure there's some of that going on too through the years. In study, BIBLEs are really something that we should be staying away from exceedingly. I don't know if most of us on here, I think, have the BYNV or the Hallelujah Scriptures or ISR or something other than the authorized version or the Latin Vulgate or something. You know, I don't know what everybody's reading, the KNJV or whatever. But the study ones are something you should avoid. I'll just put it that way, because their influence, they try to influence you over into their doctrine of choice. So if they're a Trinitarian, all their footnotes, all their study notes, all their interpretations to try to help you understand Scripture they're going to make it lean toward their Trinitarian point of view. And then most people that are ignorant or, you know, not aware of what's going on will think that that's pure Scripture, so it must be true. You know, and they're not understanding the copyrights and the different doctrines of the different authors of those study BIBLEs. So they're very treacherous and can be very misleading and dangerous, really, for truth seekers. You know, so if you're a truth seeker, I'd avoid them like the plague. But get your hands on a BYNV. I've read almost all of them. The cipher, I've read it completely. I bet you most of you, even though I bet you guys that have this right here, I'm going to say the majority of you, okay, by far have never read this whole thing. I read this whole thing. I read the whole thing. I bet you most of you have not. And all these other ones down here, I read all of them. Almost every translation out there, I've read. And the BYNV, man, is the most accurate that I've ever read. Okay? And if you've read as many as I have, and you want to disagree with that, then you got your opinion. And I got mine. But if you haven't, and you've never read any of them, but you say you like a certain one better, but you've never read any of the other ones, then your opinion, to me, is silly. Because you're not listening to someone who's been there and done that, and that's what you should be doing. If you agree that Yahuwah has no religion, that is, and if you agree that Yahusha is his true name, and you agree that Yahusha was a Hebrew, if you agree that Scriptures was written by Hebrews, to Hebrews, for Hebrews, in Hebrew, then you should listen to what I'm saying. The BYNV is the best translation out there. So I would get it. If you don't want to and you want to stay with that cipher there, or the ISR, or the Hallelujah Scriptures, or the Yahuwah, BIBLE, I don't know. You know, they're all okay. I've read them all. They're okay. But if you want to understand, get a better understanding of the Hebrew and what you're reading, and clear up a lot of the things that make it hard to understand, then the BYNV is where you want to go. If you have a desire to have the BYNV, but finance situation just is prohibiting it, let me know. I'll send you one. It's a good read. It really is. I wouldn't be just telling you that if it wasn't. I not only have I read all those, okay, look, man, I compared them. I laid them out, bam, 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 with the KJV, NIV, ESV, NIV, all of them. And BYNV, the cipher, and I went through each, read the verses, a chapter of this one, and then see how they all lined up and what they sounded like and what the difference was. How many of you can say you've done that? Maybe some of you have. I'll bet you most haven't. But I can tell you this, there's not a whole lot of difference. But the difference that is in there is very, very important, especially when you start talking about pronouncing like periods, commas, question marks versus a period, where a comma goes, words that were added or changed, put back in, names. You can take words and you can shorten them up to as short as you can get them, or you can stretch them out and make them as big as you can get them. It matters. So you want the most clearest, shortest word that is the same exact verbiage that you want the BYNB. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can tell you, man. I've compared it, and I was double checking it. I was skeptic. I wasn't going to it all the time. And as I would read a verse, and I'd say, man, I don't remember reading that. I don't remember that saying that. So I'd break out the KJV, the NKG, KJV, the cipher. I'd look at it. I'd say, dang, it does say that. You know, and then as I kept doing that, I started noticing, wow, this is a lot clearer. This is making more sense, you know. And so that's why I just use it almost exclusively now. I mean, there's no need for me to read anything else because I'm that familiar with all of them, and I'm that confident in it, you know, because I've compared it to everything. This is the only one I really keep on my desk. Is this one, other than the BYNB, and this is New King James Version in camo. And the only reason I keep that there, because I tell somebody that Yah is in their translation, that because a lot of people use that, and they say, well, where is it? And then I'll show it to them. I'll say, right here it is. And I show them the 4 places in the New King James Version that you can find the name Yah. And that's why I keep it there. It's about the only thing I use that for, and that's just to prove to them that Yah is in the New King James Version, written in there 4 times. That's all. That's the only reason I have it laying here. I don't really read it. Sometimes if I get to where there's a word that I don't get, I'll look in there and see what it says in there, and then like a Hebrew word, then I'll say, oh, okay, now I understand what that word means. But I used to do that a lot, but I don't hardly do that anymore either. But I will do it if I need to, of course. And this is a real good little book to read for you Natsarim. If you haven't read this, you should get it. It's really good. It's a little bit verbiage in there that's not too cool, but other than that, the overall message and the information, the knowledge in that little book is really good. It really opened up your mind to a lot of stuff too, you know. But anyway, getting back to this new command, they say he gave her a new command. But the NKJV that I just showed you actually calls it a new command. And that's why they say, well, he eliminated all the old commands, and now we have a new command, and that is to, you know, love one another as I loved you. Well, it should be love your neighbor as yourself, you know, but either way, it's the same. It's the same command. It's just being said in a different way. And love your neighbor as yourself, or love each other as I have loved you. The same thing. You know, I mean, what's different about that? There's you can't point out any difference in that. It's the same message. But the first and the second greatest commands is what he was actually pointing out when he was asked by a young attorney or a law practitioner of what the first and what the greatest command was. And he said, Master, what's the greatest command? And Yahusha told him, well, the first and greatest. So he said, what's the greatest command? He said, the first and greatest command is the Shema, and which we read at the beginning of our congregation here every time. And Yahuwah, our Elohim, is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And that's number one and the greatest. Okay, so that's in Deuteronomy 6:4. And then the second greatest, if you go to Leviticus 19 and over onto verse 19 or 18, do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahuwah. And Yahushua said that was the second greatest command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Oh, there's a good example of that in Luke with the Good Samaritan parable. Everybody's your neighbor, man. Even your enemy. Everybody. Except for the people in the body that are in the body of Yahusha are your brothers and your sisters. And I say brothers, that includes the women too. So if they've dwelling spirit of Yahusha in them and they're in the body, the body of Yahusha, his bride, then obviously they would be your brother or sister, and wouldn't be your neighbor. Everybody else is your neighbor. And he says, love your neighbor as yourself. Everybody loves their brother. I mean, if you don't love your brother, then you're in sin, man. You're going to perish. You can't, if you don't love your brother, you're in big trouble. And there's a lot of scripture against that. You can't, if you don't love your brother, you're in big trouble. So you better love your brother and stop gossiping about people, especially people in the body. No reason to gossip about anybody. You know what I mean? And to talk against love? Come on, man. What are you thinking? I don't know why anybody would talk against love or put somebody down because they speak of love or because they show love to each other. Yahuwah said that's how we would identify each other. That's how we would be identified or set apart and identified from the rest of the people on the planet, is by our love for each other. So why would you even think about talking against love, especially brotherly love? You must be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You haven't been reading scriptures if you talk like that. You have to love, man. Yahuwah is love. Love is the completion of the Torah. There is no Torah against love. If you love, you completed the Torah. There's nothing left for you to do, man. Stay in the race of endurance. Stay the course. Stay on the path. Stay on the straight path. Straight path just means righteousness. Stay obedient. At that point, there's a brother comes on here from time to time. Some of you may know him, but he always speaks of how simple it is, how simple a message it is to stay obedient. It's the simple message. It's obedience is everything. Well, at that point, it is. At that point, it does become everything. The obedience, it's all about obedience. And obedience is all about love. And love is all about Yahuwah. He's everything. One of these days, we're all going to go back into a perfect universe creation of Yahuwah's that is run by a universal law called love. When Adam and Kua disobeyed Yahuwah and disobeyed the Torah, which means instructions. They disobeyed his instructions not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They broke the universal law of love. And when they did that, they threw everything out of sync. All right. And everything went wacky. Well, Yahuwah's going to restore that. And in eternity, we're all going to live under the universal law of love, and it's not going to ever be broken again. That's why there will be no evil or hate or sin or disease or poverty or crying, no tears, no nothing, no death, because we're all going to be living under the universal law of love, man. He's going to restore it back to perfection. He's love. He's perfect love. All we're going to do is live in him, man, and him in us. It's going to be a perfect world, perfect existence for eternity. And his love is magnificent. His love is awesome. His love is marvelous. Okay? And get to know him. You need to get to know love, which is Yahuwah. And speak against love, you're speaking against Yahuwah. Why would you speak against love? That's insane. That's something that I would never say anything bad about love. I mean, nobody should. It's the most powerful force in existence because it's Yahuwah. Nothing's more powerful than love. His love is mind-blowing. Our love, if you consider this, think back about someone you loved dearly in your life, someone you loved more than anybody else, and I mean, you really, really, really hurt for this person, man. Your love was so deep, okay? And when you think of that, think of that person, now think about how deep your love was or is for that person. Just think about it, man. How much those feelings of love, what they feel like when they were at their highest point. Okay, and think, oh man, I was so madly in love with this person. I love this person so much. Okay, just think of that. The deepest love you've ever felt in your life. All right? And then once you get to that point, realize that love that you have for that person is only but a drop compared to Yahuwah's love. It's only a drop in the Pacific Ocean. Put it this way. It's only a drop in all the oceans of the world compared to Yahuwah's love for you. Yeah, that's how much he loves. His love is marvelous. It's magnificent. It's unspeakable. It's unimaginable. It's everlasting. He loves you with an everlasting love that you can't even fathom. Your love, your deepest love that you've ever experienced is but a drop in the Pacific Ocean compared to Yahuwah's love for you. And I found that out firsthand. I'm not going to get into it. His compassion and his mercy, you just can't understand it. It's mind-blowing. His joy and his peace, unspeakable. His greatness, his vastness, his power, We can't even have the words to describe it. Yet we're disobedient to him. Yet we pretend like he's not real. Yet somehow we just materialized out of nothing. All this dust came together and created us. So we could see, smell, taste, hear, touch, think, create, imagine, love, commit evil. Yahuwah's love is what it's all about, folks. And don't let nobody tell you different. It's all there was, that's all there is, and that's all there ever will be, is Yahuwah's love. So embrace it. Make it part of you. Swim in it. Drink it. Eat it. Dream about it. Because someday we're all going to live in his perfect universe with a perfect universal law of love governing over us. There will be no hatred, no evil, no wickedness, no disease, no death, no sin, no lawlessness, no devil, no demons, no drugs, no alcohol, no betrayals, no perversion. All that'll be gone. Just live in love. We'll be swimming in love, man. Doing the backstroke in love with Yahusha. Remember to stay in love with Yahusha. Thanks for coming on, everybody. I'm out of here. Don't miss next week. It's going to be a fun time. Don't miss it. Bring people, bring popcorn, bring soda, and I'll see you there. Be there or be square. So long, Natsarim, beloved of Yahuwah. So long, everybody. Thanks for coming.